Let's turn now to Professor Robert Bruno from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. He's director of their labor education program. Robert, it's early, more facts likely to emerge in the days ahead. But based on what we know at this point, what's your take on what was happening in this warehouse in Edwardsville, Illinois, which is actually a suburb of St. Louis, the working conditions and the preparations for the tornadoes?
Well, it certainly seems like workers didn't feel particularly safe. And this facility is built pretty standard, as most warehouses are in the United States. There really aren't dedicated safe spaces. Additionally, because turnover at Amazon is so high, it's highly unlikely that workers are paced through safety drills as to what they could expect or not to expect. There simply isn't time for a company that's churning through their workforce and needs to get product out almost by the minute. That would be costly to stop production. So I think there's a real vulnerability there, frankly. And again, these commercial warehouses, while they have pretty standard thick cement walls, they're not really thinking about very dangerous tornadoes, and there aren't dedicated spaces where you can move workers. There was also about 20 minutes of time, as I understand it, that went by from the first warning, and it really raises a question: did workers really have an opportunity to stop working and to find the most safest places to be? As it turns out, at least half the facility wasn't safe.
And Robert, some of the stories that are emerging, one of the victims who died spoke to his girlfriend before the tornado hit and told her he wasn't allowed to leave. We're also hearing stories about workers in this candle factory in Kentucky who were told they'd be fired if they left their shifts early as the tornado was approaching. Some of the workers simply ignored the warnings. They left, but at least 8 people died at this candle facility when the tornado hit. What do you make of these stories? And obviously, with the Christmas season approaching, there's this pressure to actually get more product out there. Both of those worlds kind of collided as a result of these tornadoes, right?
Well, that's right, and this is the most concerning of the stories that are emerging, and we know from a lot of commentating that's been done from workers at Amazon and workers who have attempted to organize at Amazon, that they really do feel like it's a very large sweatshop, and one indicator would be sort of you're being tied to that workplace. And with the pressure of producing during the holiday season, it really does raise some serious questions about whether workers had the freedom to move. And in the United States, if you're an at-will employee, if you're not a unionized employee, there's an enormous amount of power that the employer has over you to keep you at that workstation. And these are not particularly well-paying jobs, and any extra bit of overtime and overtime pay would be very valuable to workers both in Kentucky and in Illinois. So there is at least presumptively the possibility that workers felt intimidated. And maybe the company managers don't even have to say don't leave. You just know that if you do leave or you do attempt to leave, you're going to be easily replaced, and that's simply a job you can't live without.
And Robert, to your point about this sweatshop allegation, I mean, back in June, the New York Times had this expose about the company. They wrote, amid the pandemic, Amazon's system burned through workers, resulted in inadvertent firings and stalled benefits. Of course, the piece showed just how difficult the situation was for workers. And as you pointed out, in Alabama, there was an unsuccessful attempt to unionize because of these demanding conditions. Is something like this likely to put more focus on Amazon? Are there likely to be changes as a result of it, do you think?
Well, look, I think people have to understand that this is Amazon's employment model. I mean, they actually promote it. It's not about full-time jobs. It's not about creating safe spaces. It's not about a properly paced a work system. They are looking to move people in, burn them up, and then push them out, and then simply bring new workers in. And clearly here in Illinois and in Kentucky, OSHA will be paying attention to what happened in these locations. There are other work sites in the United States, Amazon sites, that workers have begun to express an interest in organizing. The Alabama election is going to be rerun because of labor law violations. And Amazon really is at the center of a new, emergent, and somewhat dominant employment model in the United States. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of renewed attention to this company. And I think maybe Americans need to look closely at themselves, because it's this have to get the product out at all cost and to get it immediately, one click away, that puts workers into such dangerous conditions, so that you could end up dying because of some Christmas present that you need to get out. So I definitely think there's going to be a lot of soul searching and thinking about what Amazon represents to us as workers and as consumers.
Robert, briefly, if you can, the type of penalties that they could face from OSHA.
Well, if OSHA were to find, perhaps through their general duty clause, which says that employers really do have a general responsibility to create a safe workspace where they have some reasonable concern about health and safety, and if they find that there is a willful violation, the fines can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and depending on how many of those that they find, the real challenge will be to determine whether or not there is a violation. Is it willful? And will the department and will OSHA be willing to use its enforcement authority?
And those questions to be answered sometime from now. Robert Bruno, thanks so much. Well, a fuel tanker explosion has rocked northern Haiti.